everybody, welcome to the Frank and Sandy Show. I'm Frank and this is Sandy. Say hello, Sandy.
Hello.
I'll bet you've been wondering where we were, all you cruise fans. We've been busy doing other things. We've been traveling around Costa Rica, but we're back. Today we're going to talk to you about how Liberty of the Seas compares to Allure and Oasis. You have some additional choices you can do. One of the interesting things about Liberty is during the later part of the year out of the Caribbean, it travels only 4 or 5 nights in the Caribbean. That's an interesting option for you because it could save you a pile of money if that kind of shorter cruise is something you're looking for. In addition, maybe you want to do part cruise and then maybe spend a day or two in Fort Lauderdale. Very interesting. November through April is when that could happen.
The thing that's nice about having the shorter cruising option is it gives you some flexibility, especially if you're a first-time cruiser. You don't know if you like cruising. This gives you a chance to have a cruising experience, but also have the safety and security of knowing my vacation's still intact because I've got that land-based thing. Maybe some of the wives out there have a husband who isn't certain he's going to be up for that cruising experience. This gives you a chance to talk him into it.
Liberty is part of the Freedom class of ships, which are smaller than Oasis and Allure. For example, Oasis and Allure carry upward of 6,000 passengers, but Liberty carries about 4,400. That means a different experience when you're on the ship.
With Liberty being a smaller class of ship, you're of course going to have to give up a few things, like the fantastic neighborhood concept of the Oasis class of ships. So no more Boardwalk or Central Park, which is one of Frank and I's favorites, due to all the specialty restaurants that are in that venue.
So speaking of specialty restaurants, both ships have an Italian specialty restaurant. On Allure and Oasis, it's called Giovanni's Table. On Liberty, it's called Portofino. And both ships have a steak specialty restaurant, Chop's Grill.
If you're into Asian cuisine, there's an option on both ships for that as well.
And what's really nice is both classes of ship have vintages.
We love vintages.
Vintages is a fantastic upscale wine bar. Get your wallet out because it's expensive on both ships, but it has some real beautiful ambience inside and the wines are spectacular. It's not your typical wine that you're going to find in a cruise ship and some lower classes of ship where it's, supermarket wines. These are some pretty high-end wines and it's fabulous to be able to indulge a little bit.
Well, and it's kind of nice even for an adult-only experience. You're rarely going to find children in vintages. So if you want to have a little bit of a quiet experience, enjoy some tapas and some good wine, vintages is where you're going to want to be.
Speaking of activities, you're not going to be at a loss of things to do on Liberty. You're going to have a flow rider. You're going to have a rock climbing wall. But you're only going to have one. On Allure and Oasis, you have 2. So I don't know if that means you're waiting in line more, but it could happen. But then again, with less passengers, maybe you don't need 2 of each of those. Now the other thing you might be missing,
zip line.
No zip line on the Liberty of the Seas. So if you're one of those people that wants to do the Costa Rica zip line challenge on a cruise ship, wrong ship, can't do it.
But you can ice skate on both ships, so that's a great thing that the whole family can enjoy.
And if you're really, had a bad year at work and this is your time to get away from it and you want to just kind of think about some of your coworkers and what you might want to do to them sometimes, there's a boxing ring where you can do some sparring with an instructor and learn how to defend yourself, if you know what I mean. So speaking of entertainment, both classes of ships now have the DreamWorks experience with all those crazy critters that run around in costumes and entertain the kids for hours.
And of course, both ships are going to offer a Broadway musical of some type. On Oasis class, you're going to have something like Chicago or Hairspray, versus Liberty is going to be Saturday Night Fever.
Whatever the case is, I guarantee they'll be really entertaining. I've never gone to one of these shows and not be completely impressed, and I'm pretty picky, so they do a fantastic job. The acting is great, the music is great, the choreography is outstanding on every one I've ever seen.
The singing's fantastic. I mean, the voices in Hairspray specifically were amazing.
So whatever the case is, you will be entertained. Now that we've talked about a lot of the features and the differences and how Allure and Oasis are kind of the Cadillac of everything and have everything for everybody, and the lesser options you have on Liberty, let's think about that for a minute. It turns out when you think about it, that's not a bad deal when you're in 4 or 5 days of cruising. With less time, there's less need for things to do. For example, if you want to do the specialty restaurants, you don't have 7 nights or 6 nights and 7 days to go do all that. So less nights means, hey, 1 or 2 specialty restaurants might work out just fine. especially if you like to go to the ballroom and other things. So the short of it is, I think it's a fantastic option if you want to spend less money and get the same style of cruise experience.
Well, and maybe you don't have that many vacation days. Maybe you can't take a whole week off. So this is a great way to still be able to go on a cruise.
For Sandy and I, it works out perfect because a 4 or 5 night cruise coupled with staying in Fort Lauderdale for a day or two makes for a fantastic experience.
It's kind of nice to actually have the liveliness of the cruise and then go to a more quiet experience on a land-based, at a hotel, maybe hang out at the beach and such. Maybe not so much of a frenzy.
And there's so many fantastic hotels right there in Fort Lauderdale, including the W and Ritz-Carlton and so many others, that every price point you have an option to go look at something.
Oh yeah, and there's great. You just walk right across the street to so many hotels. The sand is right there. So believe me, you get off the ship, take a taxi to the hotel. It's easy.
So let's talk about some of the staples on both ships. Both ships have the Windjammer Cafe where you can eat pretty much any time, night and day, which is great. There's also the cupcake cupboard.
Try to say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, I can't. You saw me stumble a little bit there. But you can drown in cupcakes galore, and it's a fantastic option if you want to go eat a lot of cupcakes. They have them.
Well, Frank, don't forget about Johnny Rockets. Both ships have Johnny Rockets. It doesn't have maybe the full menu of the land-based Johnny Rockets, but it's pretty complete. We've always been able to find something that we wanted.
And it tastes just like, you know, the good stuff on shore. I think they have like a $5 cover or something like that.
It's very
a nominal
cost-effective.
fee, and as a result, you get to have whatever you want. You can eat yourself silly with French fries or whatever.
And even milkshakes.
Yeah, it's really not a bad deal when it's just a few bucks to do that.
On Liberty, you're going to get a special treat. They have a Ben & Jerry's, Oasis and Allure. Don't. They do have an ice cream shop, but you're not going to be able to get Cherry's Garcia. I'm sorry, it's one of my favorites. I had to just mention that.
Let's talk about shore excursions. Shore excursions are going to be fantastic on either ship. There'll be no shortage of those for sure. Royal Caribbean always has some of the best ones on the planet, and you'll be able to experience them from either ship, so that's great.
But there is something that you do need to recognize. It's obviously with a shorter duration cruise, you're going to want to check out those itineraries, because on these 4 and 5 night cruises, on 4 nights, you're only going to have 1 land stop, other than Fort Lauderdale itself. And on a 5 night, you're going to have 2.
So let's sum this all up. Liberty is a smaller ship with less passengers, but also not quite as many features as Oasis and Allure. But you're going to get an Oasis-like experience in a smaller time frame for a lot less money. Something you can experiment with and say, I love that, let me try Oasis next time.
I think that's a great idea.
Well, thanks again for joining us today, and we hope you learned a lot about how Liberty differs from Oasis and Allure. I hope it helps you in making your decision about what you're going to do. On our website, on YouTube, we have other cruise videos and other travel and fun adventures. Check those out because they're kind of fun, and you might learn some other vacations that you might want to try too. At any rate, thanks for sharing this with all your friends. It might help them learn the same kinds of things that you just learned here today, and they might have some fun while they're watching. At any rate, thanks for subscribing if you have a YouTube account, and
This is Frank, and I'm Sandy, and today we're not just signing off, we're sailing off. Bon voyage!
voyage!